Hello, sports fans. Mauricio here. Well, I'm just finishing up talking about the SQL statements that were used to create the reports. So, which one is this? Sales totals by week. So, here it is in our web page. So the idea is that we have hundreds and thousands of lines of line items in our sales details table, and we're extracting from that. Try to do that in Excel, okay? We're extracting from all that raw data. Some customer bought something on some day of the week, or whatever date. So we want to condense analysts, condense data, code, categorize data, help managers make decisions based on the data, like yes or no. You could analyze data for the whole weekend and come back and your answer is no. And then you dive into why, but you got to condense a lot of research into useful information to help run a business and solve problems. So sales by week, some weeks are better than others. That's called seasonality. And then certain things happen, like who knows, maybe week 36 there's a lot of products sold. There's some weeks in Pullman that are just high sales. For example, students come back second or third week in August. They sell a lot of furniture and routers, etc., out of Walmart. So some weeks need to be planned for. All right, so this sales by week one. Now we should see why. Let me see if I can fix this while we're talking about it. I just thought of something. So we're going to fill all these data tables. So before we fill these data tables, .rows.clear. You got to clear out the old data before you fill it with new data. It's easy to go from the back to the front. If you go from the front to the back, some of the IntelliSense gets in the way. And pretty sure you can only have one of these per line, so okay. And that is such a strong hypothesis. I'm going to do it for the startup code. So before you retrieve data, clear out the old data. If I go to the first one here, it works okay. You like to keep the commas in SQL, but not in Visual Studio. Okay, Joe. Let's get rid of that guy. So I saw what I felt. What is going on? I saw what I felt was duplicate data, so I had a hypothesis that maybe we're just adding more and more data to the same arrays. So that would make sense. You'd have to clear out the old data before you put new data in your bucket. Let's see. Yep, that looks like fewer. No duplicates there, no duplicates there. I'm a genius. No, no duplicates there. Okay, so that was a useful addition. So I'm glad you saw it. All right, which one are we on? Sales by week. So that's very useful. And depending on if you're looking at the supply chain units, or thinking about profit, or thinking about the engagement, like how many are people buying a lot of different things, or people just coming in buying one or two things. That's the number of line items per week, and the average line item. Yeah, so some weeks people come in and just buy a couple things. Now you got me interested. Number of line items, but I don't see average line items per invoice or average line items per day of week. Now that sounds, on Mondays do people come in and buy 5 things, and Tuesdays they just come in and buy 1 and go back home? Each day of the week is different. Why should I care for them? And staffing. If people come in and buy a lot of stuff, you got to restock the shelves, or plan for e-commerce pick, pack, and ship. All right, let's finish this video. Sales by week. Let's go back to SQL. Sales totals by week. Again, if we just run this group by, we get some of the columns, but if we run the whole thing, we can get 1, 2, 3, 4 more columns. And so averages, I like to do them in the outer query. So the subquery provides the base data. And by the way, just a copy of the base data. The date in the sales details table is not changing. But again, it's very nice to be able to use the alias. Total units divided by number invoice. That's very easy. Rather than having to use this sum units divided by count distinct sales ID, that would be cumbersome. But that's all you can do at one level of the query. So let me be Captain Obvious. At this level of the query, you cannot use the aliases in any metrics. This, using the alias, is only possible. Using the alias to make more columns is only possible in an outer query. And so the inner query or subquery provides the data, and the outer query can use the alias. And I just think it's really interesting that if you just type the name of the subquery, you can see the columns that are available to you, the analyst, to make more metrics. All right, so we have some averages, and we'll just run the whole thing. And so 1, 14, 36, 39 hike. There we go. That's the same data. So we run. So this one is called SP sales totals by week. Let's go find that. SP. So SP sales totals by week. So you create a command, and the command is a pretty similar name, CMD. Command, sales totals by week. A command is what is our vehicle, is our ASP.NET vehicle to run a stored procedure. We're going to have to put the command inside a data adapter, but talk about that again later. The commands are run over a connection. you have to tell it what it's running, and you have to tell it which store procedure to run. So that's sales totals by week. So there we go. So wrap the SQL command into a data adapter, and then this line 138 is where all the action happens. Data adapter, go run the command, and then use the retrieved data to go fill the array, and then that array becomes the data source for the grid view. So the data is showed in the grid view. I don't think I mentioned it, but I made sure all these tables said GDT, global data table. Any public shared object, I put a G in front of it. See, I'm lying already. So connection, I just thought that sounded normal, but I put a G in front of most things. So that try catch block fills a data table, an array. Again, you're getting a copy of the data from the database. It's a select statement. It's going to produce a table of data, and then it gets copied into the web page's array. And so that's how it works. That's how a web page can have the data, even though the data is not really stored in the web page, not permanently anyway. That's why you're always getting data and then updating data. Like, you could get the data into your web page, make a few changes, that would be normal, and then push that update set back to the database. All right, so we have totals by week, and again, the inner query, subquery, is putting in the first set of columns, and then we can build on those and add the extra columns at the end, which are usually more and more and more advanced. And for my last trick, number 6 is similar, but this is, but there is one little wrinkle here. Alright, so this is day of week: Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What kind of order is that? Oh, well, let's see if we can write it like that. We can put that in there and just run it. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you cannot sort by the textual day of week T, which I went through and showed you how to put that in your sales details table. So I don't know if you remember that insert statement, but we added a lot of date time metrics, because then it's wicked easy to make group by queries by day of month, day of week, week number, month number, year month combination, so you can create line charts. All right, 1 minute to go. So we can, so what's new here? A percentage of total. So that's right, it doesn't like that. So if you notice, we're getting a total here, and then we're doing percent of total. So total revenue divided by the that's the wrong name. So that should be, for each line, take the total revenue divided by the grand total, which is in this local variable. And so on Monday, we sell 95% of our business. We do most of the business on Monday. All right, sport fans, take care, and on to the next thing, right? Take care.